Thank you. Thank you very much. RJC. Yes. I am certainly excited to be here. And I will tell you, I am a big believer in Psalms 122:6. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and those who do will prosper. I think that's one of the most important scriptures in all of the gospel. I believe American prosperity is woven together by the foundation that we are a strong ally of Israel. I was thinking about this fact. Thank you, one person. Thank you very much. That one person. Thank you. I was thinking about why I am so passionate about Israel and the Jewish people. It didn't start when I became a United States Senator and I did some homework on anti-Semitism and racism and discrimination. It didn't start then. It started when I was just a little pup. I was in high school and I wasn't doing very well. And I had this 5 foot tall, I don't know that she weighed 100 pounds, little Jewish lady named Mrs. Lynch, who was my English teacher. And I was trying to convince her that I deserved to pass her class. I had another teacher named Mrs. Greenberg, a little Jewish lady who was my algebra teacher. And I was definitely passing her class. Now, as a poor kid in the deep South, understanding, Phil, the sting of racism and discrimination and the challenges that come with that, life had accumulated in the wrong direction for me. How many of y'all have ever had a bad day? Yeah. I had a bad 7 years. And as a freshman, I failed 4 subjects. I failed world geography. I might be the first senator to fail civics, the study of politics. I will say, though, after 9 years in the Senate, I'm not the only one failing civics in Washington, D.C. I also failed Spanish and English. When you fail Spanish and English, no one calls you bilingual. No, they all call you bi-ignorant because you can't speak in any language. That's where I found my unhappy self. And so I was trying to tell Mrs. Lynch, please, Mrs. Lynch, give me one more chance. And she said, no, you failed English. And I said to her, Mrs. Lynch, my mother's going to be really disappointed that I failed English. And she said, no, Tim, your mother's going to be really disappointed that you didn't study. One of the more important lessons of my life is learning individual responsibility. And it's helped me tremendously. And I think back to the times when I started my first career, and I was in a speaking company and at a speaking organization, and a guy named Larry Freudenberg saw something in me that I didn't know was there. And he just started helping me understand and appreciate the power of economic opportunity. And he brought me into an insurance agency and taught me how to start my own business. And then a few years later, when I thought I was good enough to start another business, I met a friend of mine named Jerry Zucker, one of South Carolina's first billionaires. And he spent time with me, 3-hour lunches, helping me appreciate the power of free markets and capitalism. And I just look back over my life and I see how all the experiences help me understand and appreciate the powerful connection between me and the Jewish community. And when I started my businesses, those businesses, they became successful because I had the right mentors who taught me that you have to always go the extra mile, who taught me that if you wanted to be better, you had to do better, and you had to invest your time, your energy to make things better. And so when I arrived in Congress, and now as a senator, I always rise up for common sense. And when I think about my brothers and sisters in the Jewish community in New York City being attacked on the streets of New York, it is time to rise up on behalf of those citizens. We have the responsibility If we are going to be a great nation, we must first be a good nation. And one of the ways that we are a good nation is when we take a stand and rise up for those folks spreading anti-Semitism, hate, and racism. If we want to be all that we can be, we have to rise up to the occasion and stand toe-to-toe with the enemies of our better angels. I thought to myself, when I saw cancer spreading on college campuses in the form of anti-Semitism, I decided I would rise up. So I called my friends and I said, Norm Brownstein, will you rise up with me? And Norm said, yes. And I called my buddy, Mark Rowan, and said, will you rise up with me? He said, yes. Together, we created the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act to cancel racism and anti-Semitism on college campuses from coast to coast, because we must stand together and rise to the occasion if we want America to live out its highest ideals. I gotta tell you, when I saw, and I couldn't believe it, when I saw the challenges faced by so many people across the world. And I watched the challenges in Ukraine, and I see these Iranian drones coming in. And I see the Iranian government punishing its people, especially its women. I felt like I had to rise up and create legislation to push back on Iran. And we created the Solidify Iranian Sanctions Act to make sure that they had sanctions forever, that we never, ever allow the Iranian sanctions to expire in order for us to maximize our potential as a nation, in order for us to understand and appreciate the necessity of American leadership. We have to rise up. And I will tell you without any question, watching President Trump take our legislation on Anti-Semitism Awareness Act and create an executive order was a powerful experience, and I knew with my heart that we were heading in the right direction as a country. When the UN Human Rights Council decided to start a COI, a Commission of Inquiry, against Iran, against Israel, for occupying territory, I decided it was time for me to rise to the occasion. And along with Senator Rosen, we created the COI Act that would cancel funding to the UN Human Rights Council so that they could not continue their behavior of destroying our greatest ally in the Middle East. I will say that I am so thankful to have a partner like Senator Rosen. She and I created the African American Jewish Coalition in the United States Senate. And together, this month, we declared the month of November, the month where we celebrate Jewish American contributions to this nation. Because we understand that the power of our diversity is the strength of this great nation. And we must always stand up against every force that wants to divide us. And if we do our part, I believe that America's greatest days are without any question ahead of her. And the question I want to ask you is, will you rise with me? Will you rise with me and fight against anti-Semitism wherever it raises its ugly head? Will you rise with me every time you see racism and discrimination anywhere in our nation. I said, will you rise to the occasion and make sure every American knows that we are serious about who we are? Will you rise up and make sure that we are counted in the fight? This is not about 22 or 24. This is about the very soul of America. I believe in this nation because I've had the benefit of watching good people come to my aid. And when we do what we need to do exactly on time, I believe the best is yet to come. I've seen it with my own eyes. Here's a question for you. Will you also stand with me against the Biden administration, who seems to be completely lost like a goose in a rainstorm? The Biden administration wants us to believe everything they say, no matter what we see. Hey, think about it. President Biden in July, he says inflation is 0%. But we can see with our own eyes when we drive into the gas station and gas is 60% higher than it was in December of 2020, it ain't zero. 8 months of inflation close to or over 8%. 19 months with inflation outpacing wage growth, which leads to the President Biden pay cut, impacting working families all across this nation. We have to rise up against that bad behavior and terrible policies. People say, well, how do you slow or stop inflation? Obviously, it wasn't the Inflation Reduction Act that added $740 billion of more spending. 87,000 new IRS agents to target, boo, I agree, small businesses. I can't believe it, but it's true. How do we combat that? They tell me elections have consequences. And thank God Almighty, we won the House. And we fired Nancy Pelosi. Here's the truth. Our Inflation Reduction Act is called a House majority where we stop spending money we do not have, buying things we cannot afford, trying to impress a world that is not impressed by us. That's the way we stop inflation. Think about what even Governor Christie just said about crime. The Democrats believe that crime isn't so bad. We might as well have no cash bail and let the criminals out the next day. They believe we should blame the police. They actually went through the process of defunding the police. Oi! I don't know what oi means, but now I do. Oi! I got you now. But what do? We, the good people of America, we understand that we stand for our police. We thank our police. We celebrate our police. And then we refund our police. We give them the money to do the work, keeping Americans safe. That's how we respond. I know I'm close to the edge. If I fall, just move. Because we are close to the edge as a nation. We are either going to see a precipitous drop heading towards socialism, or we're going to take a step back and be all that I believe that God designed us to be. And we do that by how we respond to the Democrats' progressive policies. Inflation, crime, borders. Now, I said I failed civics, but even a ninth grade Tim Scott could tell our borders are not secure. I know this is shocking information all over the auditorium. Wow. No, I'm sorry. Oi. Oi. Thank you. Oi. Let me just ask you. When the president and the vice president tell us the border is secure, and there are 2.3 million illegal crossings, I'm going to come to the conclusion our border is not secure. Call me naive, right? I'm going to make sure these people are paying attention over here. I'll be right back. Now, when 98 people on our terrorist watch list is caught at our southern border, our border is not secured. I got one more for you. Bring it. Hallelujah. Okay. She's been to a black church before. Come on now, let's just do it together. I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have said that, but you'll get over it. Anyways, thank God we're not politically correct. We believe in freedom. We believe that every child should learn their ABCs and not their CRTs. But anyways, I'll say that for another minute. I'll say that for later. But think about this. 107,000 Americans have lost their lives to drug overdoses because fentanyl is pouring across our southern borders. We deserve better from a president of the United States than to sit there reading off of some screen and telling us the border is closed. We deserve better than the Vice President of the United States being asked the question for clarity, are you sure you meant what you said? When NBC or ABC asks the question twice, you know it's problematic, right? You sure you meant the border is closed? And they double down on it as if we Americans are just naive or dumb. We can't believe what we see. We must believe what they say. Last point is schools. We need quality education in every single zip code in America. Education is the closest thing to magic in America. If you are equipped with a good education, all things are truly possible. It doesn't matter whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Hispanic, or whether you're Jewish. If you have a good education, whether it's yeshiva or Catholic schools, if you are equipped with an amazing education, the sky is the limit. But without one, you are relegated to a caste system and stuck at the bottom. We have done better, and we will do better again. I remember the good old days from 2016 to 2020, a long time ago, when we had the lowest unemployment rate for African Americans under 5%, under 6% for the first time in American history, Hispanics under 4%, Asians under 3%, the overall population, 50-year low, women a 70-year low. We put more money in historically black colleges and universities than any Democrat administration in the history of America, and we made the funding permanent for the first time ever. I created opportunity zones that has poured $70 billion into the poorest communities in all of America. And we cut taxes, corporate taxes from 35 to 21%, small business taxes by 20%, top tax rate now 37.6%. We've done it once. We can do it again. But the future depends on three things. Number one, it depends on the goodness of Americans standing up when it counts the most. We must be one American family. Number two, we must be energy independent, because energy security is national security. And with economic dominance, the next American century starts with us. It starts right now, and it starts with you. God bless you.